Well, one thing at the Black Business Expo this year that I really liked is we gave, for the first time, we gave a major award, what we call our big award, and we called Daryl Jones up, and he thought he was helping present, but the award actually was going to him because of what he's done over the last years. And when he was with Bethel CDC, he helped build houses. He built over 100 homes and put families in for the first time. And now that he's with OEV, he's fostering business. So we actually chose him. And so I look back on the video and the look on his face of total surprise of Daryl,
Yes.
that as we read his name, he was a big part in what we've been doing lately. So he
Wonderful.
was definitely deserving of that.
Absolutely.
Conversations with Nicole. Cole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. The world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Well, I am excited and delighted to be here with Vaughn Wilson, Mega Ace, DJ Ace. You have been in the community doing great and wonderful things for quite some time now, but we've not really had a conversation.
Right.
So,
I finally get to sit on the couch.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, where are you from originally?
I was born in Ocala, Florida.
Okay.
But I moved here very young. My dad was working on Ocala. He's one of the first black men in a newsroom in Florida. He was a sports writer for the Ocala Star-Banner. And back then, we didn't have it like we are now, where people travel to meet with coaches all the time in sports. So what would happen when the coaches were out recruiting, they would stop by the local newspapers. Jake Gaither stopped by the Ocala Star-Banner, and he was shocked to see a black man working in the sports department.
I bet.
Who was actually interviewing him. And Eddie Jackson, who was working with him at the time, who was Jake's driver, he said Jake was really quiet almost all the way back to Tallahassee. And then the next day, Jake Gaither called Mr. Jackson and said, "Hey, go get that fellow from Ocala." And that's how we came up here.
Oh, wow.
He
Now-
hired my father to come be sports information director.
What a story. Now, I had the great opportunity of interviewing your dad back when the autobiography of the great
Jake
Jake
Gaither.
Gaither was released by his adopted daughter,
Yanela.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
So I was very glad to be able to chat with him. Just a wealth of knowledge and loved by so many, lovingly
Yes.
known as Prof.
Right.
right. And so, what impact did your dad make on your life?
Now that is a 3-episode question.
It is, but we want you to shrink
it's
it.
short. In short, he taught me never to be scared to do anything, whether that was speaking your mind, engaging in a business venture, or just doing anything that you feel you want to do or feels necessary or is the right thing to do. When he used to write columns, he was published in the Tallahassee Democrat. And of course, there are a lot of people that didn't like what he wrote, but he always kept his phone number listed. So fielding calls of people calling enraged to talk to him, I learned something, because you would get people call and they were irate. And then Dad would get on the phone and be on the phone with them about 30 minutes. And the whole conversation would change. And you would understand that they might not wholly agree with him, but they understood, and he took pride in taking time to explain.
So basically, respecting his opinion.
It changed to a respect and opinion.
Wow, that's very significant. And he was also the owner of the Capital Outlook, which is the black newspaper here.
While he owned it, he set a record for the National Newspaper Publishers Association, which is the governing body of over 200 black newspapers.
Wow.
So they give what's called the A. Philip Randolph Award, which is like the Black Pulitzer. They give 2 a year.
Okay.
1 year he won both of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow. So Mega Ace, tell me about how that got started, and I know DJing, I've been to several functions that you have moved the crowd on with. So tell me how that started, and I know that there was a pivot that took place during COVID,
Sure.
right? All right.
Yeah, the Ace part came from my first DJ partner, Kenneth Perry, who passed a few years ago. But Kenneth and I were at 7th grade, and we wanted to DJ, so we named each other. I named him The Wiz, and he named me Ace.
Okay.
So that came from way back then. As I kept going on in college, after my playing days, I became certified as a Pro Tools engineer, and began my multimedia journey. So I was involved in assisting a guy from Miami in starting his record label, which was Mega Jam Records. And he kind of just dropped it and kind of left me there with Mega Jam Records. So when I started Multimedia, I kind of just meshed Mega Jam Records and Ace together with Mega Ace.
Gotcha.
And kind of pulled all those elements together. Did everything from released a couple of CDs with local artists on it, and recorded music videos, helped the Tallahassee Urban League with the Operation Beats project.
Yes.
And so those are kind of the things that started it.
Okay.
And it really came to fruition in 1993 when I did a project for the Florida Department of Agriculture. It was called Fresh to You. It was 12 kids songs like Wash Your Hands and
Okay.
Stand Back from the Microwave, all those kind of things. Though that series won an Emmy Award for the Florida Department of Agriculture
Wow.
in '93. Yeah.
I didn't know we were the Emmy Award winning. Listen, the Emmy Award winning Mega Ace. I love it. Congratulations on that. Yeah. So, you talked about music, and I didn't know it went that far back, but, music is universal, and it moves us, right?
Sure.
And how does music move you?
Oh, music, it can change your mood. It can help you. You got your favorite songs that when you need a lift up, that you go grab those songs. If you want to mellow out, for me, it's Gregory Porter. I love Gregory Porter. He is one of my favorite singers now, now that Luther's passed. Luther, to me, was, in my opinion, as far as a pure singer, the greatest. But Gregory Porter now, he's just got such style to him, and his combination of jazz, classical, soul, gospel. But last week went to see Jill Scott, and I got her on repeat now.
Right.
So music just really changes your mood, helps you through. Being an entrepreneur, and being in business, sometimes it can get kind of tough, and you need a little lift me up sometimes, or some perspective, and music helps.
Nice. Now, were you into records at all growing up?
Oh yeah, playing records?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I play, and the good thing is my mom and dad, they love George Benson, so I love George Benson to this day, and Barry White.
Okay.
They listen to that. So
Gotcha.
that's how I got into real music and understanding real music.
Nice. Now, who are you listening to outside of Jill, who's on repeat because you went to a concert, but who's on your playlist, or who's in your ear currently?
Jeffrey Osborne is always there. Whitney Houston.
Okay.
Of course, Frankie Beverly. Just the catalog of Frankie Beverly. I mean, he's always known as Before I Let Go.
Yeah.
His catalog is just incredible.
It is.
And so Frankie's another guy. And then, if I need to get hyped up, Luke comes in.
Okay.
It's gamut.
Don't
I
stop,
go
get it. I love it.
the full spectrum, of music. I really love all different types of music, and I really like a lot of the old rock music too as
Really?
well. Oh
Like
yeah,
who?
like Kenny Loggins,
Okay.
the Doobie Brothers were
Oh, yeah.
actually they're in the rock category.
Michael McDonald, boy.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
special. Indeed. Okay, so tell me about the production piece in terms of video and photography and that sort of thing, because I know you did a lot of that during your tenure at FAMU.
Yeah, my father taught me as a youngster how to use a camera. He always had a camera, and he also always had the old film, 8mm film camera.
Okay.
So all of our younger days are cataloged in those films.
Wow.
He was amazing, and we would sometimes as kids, why are you always taking the camera? As we got older, and those experiences we were able to experience again. So I kind of understood the power of capturing things on video. Started learning that shortly after I got my Pro Tools certification. Then I started learning video editing.
Okay.
And they all just started to come together in little projects. And so we used those skills at the Capitol Outlook. It was at the onset of when social media was taking off and social pages. And so we used that to populate the social media pages and the YouTube page and all of those things. And in 2009, we had been trying to get my dad to retire. He worked all his life, and his eyesight was not as good. And he was retired from FAMU, and we just said, Dad, let's just sit this paper down.
Yeah.
And we were able to sell the paper. But it's amazing. Right at that same time, Dr. James Ammons at FAMU called me to a meeting to his office and said, listen, I just came from the National Athletics Convention for the NCAA, and I realized that FAMU is one of the few schools in the country that does not have its own multimedia department.
Oh, wow.
I need that. I would like you to come in and develop Rattler Productions.
Okay.
Well, it was kind of a tall order because there were additional aspects that I was not quite sure of that he wanted added. But we immediately came in and developed all of the social media pages that the athletic department uses now, the YouTube page that the athletic department uses now. Start setting processes in place. And then shortly thereafter, the Mideastern Athletic Conference, which we were in, signed a deal with ESPN, and in that deal, ESPN would train people from each school to be able to produce in-house content for ESPN3. That's how they do it at the big schools. ESPN doesn't have 100 systems that they carry around to go to these schools. What they do is train the schools. In the bigger conferences, they invest in equipment for them. So what our conference did was invested in some of the equipment, got the university to invest in other equipment. So we went from, when I got there, not even owning a single camera to being able to do ESPN3 football broadcasts with full graphics package from ESPN.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah. It was a learning experience. It was great, but partnering with the other schools at FAMU, partnering with the journalism school, partnering with the business school, partnering with the computer school, we all brought those kids together, and the kids were brilliant. They were the muscle behind the productions.
Yeah, you've worked with a lot of students, I know, and mentorship seems to be, what at least what I've seen on social media, important to you. Tell me about mentorship and your role in mentoring those students.
It came from my father. If you talk to Keisha Lance Bottoms right now, she will tell you how much a mentor my dad was to her. Those kind of stories were happening all my life. That my dad my dad was a professor. So it was in my mind that these kids are looking to make it on their way, and you have to both utilize their resources to get what you need done, but you've got to get them along the way. And really, it became like a family. Our internship became number one requested internship on campus to work
Wow.
with athletics because kids had resume building things. I had students who were sideline reporters on ESPN3. I mean, that's a dream job
Listen,
for
right,
adults.
for sure.
But in college, the ones that were trained and were good enough had great opportunities to actually be on ESPN3. And those students have done wonderful. And then they became a part of our family. Like, I just came from one wedding and I just got another invitation for another wedding. And
Wow.
those types of things, now I understand why my father was so interested in helping people along their way.
Absolutely. Who were some of your mentors?
As far as music and DJing, it was obviously Joe Bullard. When we first started DJing, we used to go to Joe all the time, and Gerald Tooks was working at WA&M.
Gerald Tooks.
And my brother Van eventually was working up there. And what we would do is they would get extra copies of records when the records came in, and Joe would always, hey, I got some records, come get a pack.
Okay.
Or Gerald, even when he went off and started working with A&M Records, hey, I got the new Janet before anybody has it. So that's how I really got into music.
That's exciting. Yeah. Nice. We talked about being an entrepreneur. This is 2023. You had the second year of the Black Business Expo, which was absolutely fabulous. So tell me, where did the concept come from to have the expo, and what are your thoughts about this year's event?
The thought of the Black Business Expo came in 2000, and it's kind of a process that it came along. 2019, I developed Rattler Productions. It was full blown.
Okay.
It had been operating absolutely solidly for 7 years, and I kind of got bored, to be honest. And also the time that it took away from my family. My children were coming up through high school. My son wanted to play football. He had been playing basketball all this time. So trying to be there for him, be there for my daughter as they graduated high school, I needed to do something different. And I just said, well, I'm just going to incorporate Mega Ace again and start the solo business. So in July 2019 is when I had informed 6 months before that to the athletic department that I would not seek a re-sign. I would not re-sign in July.
Gotcha.
And in respect to the school that I love, that's not a 2-week notice because I had a whole bunch of responsibilities,
Right.
and that stuff needed to be handed off. And what they did was brought someone in, and we kind of handed it off.
Okay.
That's not something you just stop and somebody come pick up. So that happens July. I take a couple months off to just kind of breathe because it was a grind. October, we officially reincorporated. Started building inventory of equipment and things we're going to be doing, video and photography for events. Booked a whole half a year in 2020.
Okay.
Of course, all of that canceled. About February, everything just stopped.
Right.
Just when I was getting business. And now I'm questioning myself. You just let a 6-figure job
Right.
go, but now you're sitting here with nothing coming in. Sitting at home, there were a lot of different thoughts. But I actually got the thought, these churches need to get online. That became big. Between Leon County and Gadsden County, I was going into churches who didn't even have internet, who didn't understand it,
Wow.
who almost wanted to fight me, brought me in, but wanted to fight me with how the process would go.
Right.
Funny story with one church in Quincy with Pastor Barkley. He's got a nice church there, and I walk in, and his production person's there, and I walk in, and Reverend Barkley says, Wilson, Sheriff Morris Young told me you knew how to do this and you could get us online. I said, yes, sir. He said, now, I still play 8 tracks at home. Am I going to have to do anything? I said, no, all you have to do is preach.
8 tracks.
He said, and then when we got finished, he said, yep, and them 8 tracks still work at the end of the day. So I thought it might have been joking, I'm making a reference, but he was serious.
Wow.
He still plays 8 tracks.
Okay.
But to me today, on a Sunday, to tune into his church, to see him on,
Yes.
it's just, that's a sense of accomplishment.
Indeed.
But also sitting home, I know, and I started reading data as we were coming out of the pandemic, 40% of black businesses closed within 90 days of the start of the shutdown. 40%, that is a lot of black businesses that shut down. And then, while I was finding small ways to restart my business, Daryl Jones at OEV called me and said, you need to register with OEV. But listen, as a black business, as a black man who's not used to having anything given to you, that seemed like something extra to do. You know, I still got to stay on my grind.
Right.
So he was persistent till he finally said, come to my office. I mean, it was about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So I finally went to his office, registered with OEV. The next week, the director of OEV, Christina Paredes was at the time, she called from a meeting, a blueprint meeting,
Okay.
where it was a disaster because they could not integrate the live Zoom with the people in person. It was a disaster. And she said, be in my office at 11 a.m.
Okay.
She called me like 7 or 8 at night at that event.
Right.
And she said, in short, I have an event coming up. I know you know how to do this. I can't be embarrassed like Blueprint was, because
Right.
it's her big meeting. We pulled that meeting off, and she immediately gave me a contract for a year because they had to meet virtually with
Wow.
OEV.
That's awesome.
So when after I did the first OEV meeting, Blueprint saw it, and then the minority women and small business enterprises. So you got 3 entities that have monthly meetings. They voted in all of those meetings to have them all on the same date so that I could stream them. All different billing.
Okay.
I never have to move my equipment. Just different people would come in. They got the TCC Center.
Oh, wow.
So in the morning it will be OEV, then MEWSBE, and then the Blueprint Action Committee.
What a blessing.
In a row, they moved their meetings. Can you imagine my shock when I heard them make the motion? Because nobody told me.
Right.
So I'm in the Blueprint meeting, say, I motion that we move our meetings to Wednesday at 5:30 so we can be in the slot so Mega Ace Media can produce it. And then the thank yous that I got from the people, well, I'm sitting there going to myself, no, thank you. You just
Right.
restarted my business.
Exactly.
You know, with 1 day a week to really,
Yeah.
1 day a week,
3
1 day a
checks.
month.
Right.
Yeah, covers my month.
Yes.
And then other
That's
things
tremendous.
started coming, other events, the Rattler Boosters with their kickoff, AKA Day at the Capitol, which we still do elements in that. And that's the important thing about the pandemic. We had to change everything. We had to change absolutely everything.
Yeah.
We did. And so some of these things remain. And shortly after I did that first meeting for OEV, Daryl again, he starts emailing, apply for this grant. As black businesses, we don't do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem real. We just don't do it.
Right.
Daryl Jones, apply for this grant. Do I need to come over there and fill out this paperwork for you? So I
He's
filled out the paperwork, and lo and behold, in 10 days, I was informed that I received a $1,500 grant from OEV.
Wow.
From money that they had for businesses. CARES Act money started coming in,
Yeah.
and the county said, get this to these businesses. So just by registering, which was free, I started getting business from OEV. They started recommending me to other places, and then they gave me a grant. The next thing I know, Big Bend Minority Chamber went and got some money from Walmart specifically for black businesses. So I think I got maybe another $1,000 there. And I started thinking, wow, if I had never registered, if I had never followed through, I never would have got this.
Right.
And I also started thinking most big black businesses are going to be like me. And there's not a Daryl Jones to hold the hand of every business. So when I, in November of 2021, I came with the idea, we need to have something like an expo, because I remember the sister all these big expos they used to have,
Black
back in
Expo.
the Black Expo. And that idea I said, I need to try to help these other black businesses find a way to get them there because they need to register, they need to understand, they need to integrate.
Yes.
And it's difficult, and I know it was difficult to get them to come out. So that's when we came up with the idea with the grants.
Gotcha.
Grants helped us through the first year, and this year
This year.
we almost doubled attendance, almost doubled sponsors, and then, I beg to say that I don't think Tallahassee has had a panel with the caliber of people that we had on our panel. I'm talking about any group where you have the mayor, John Daly,
Right.
County Commission Chairman Nick Maddox, Sue Dick from the Greater Tallahassee Chamber, Sean Pittman from the Big Bend Minority Chamber, Katrina Tuggerson from Capital City Chamber, Senator Corey Simon, and Gallup Franklin was out of town, but he was on Zoom because he felt it was important to be there to listen to the businesses who they just don't have that audience. I don't have that audience. Nobody has that 7 people to sit and be able to listen to them. So it's gained popularity, it's gained steam. As we're following up with our partners, I mean, I just left one of our partners as we, present our thank yous, and they were saying, when do we sign up to sponsor for next year?
Wow.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
So it not only benefits the businesses, and also one of the financial institutions there has already made 3 loans to businesses who were there.
Nice.
Those businesses would never have an opportunity to be in front of those people if we didn't make them.
Had it not been for the expo.
Right.
Love
So,
it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
so it's growing.
Yeah, it is. It is. So what's next for Vaughn Wilson?
Well, Ben Crump and I are talking. He has Brooklyn Productions, his named after his daughter.
I didn't know that was the name of his production company.
Yeah, named after his daughter. And we are looking into a couple of projects kind of related around family. There's a couple of things there
Okay.
that he wants to look at from the civil rights perspective. And so I'm looking and hoping that will be our next major project that we get into.
All right. Good deal. And finally, what is Vaughn Wilson's greater work?
My greater work?
Your greater work.
Besides Zachary and Layla?
No, that could be it.
I think those 2. I think my son and daughter. But I just think it has to be relationships of connecting different people in the community in different ways. So many times I get asked, why didn't you leave Tallahassee? Because, when I graduated SBI, there were corporate job offers, but where I was going, I couldn't call the mayor. I couldn't call my congressman. I couldn't call the #1 DJ in the market. I couldn't call the fire chief, the sheriff, directly call, all of these people. And so just the connections here, the president of the university, and we keep going on and on, the NAACP. So the relationships were already built here and want to prosper here. And Tallahassee is a great place to raise a family because it's not too fast, So I just felt that Tallahassee is a great place. No place is perfect, but Tallahassee is phenomenal.
All right. And you are doing a phenomenal job. And I want to thank you for taking a few moments to talk with me today.
Thank you so much.
All right. And thank you all for tuning in to Conversations with Nicole, where we are connecting the community through conversations. We'll see you next time.